Bom dia a todos. Eu sou Renata Almeida da Costa e, em nome da Associação Brasileira de Pesquisadores em Sociologia do Direito, dou as boas-vindas aos palestrantes e participantes de nosso 11º Congresso Internacional, intitulado Sociologia Jurídica Hoje, Cidades Inteligentes, Crise Sanitária e Desigualdade Social. O tema escolhido para este evento sofreu grande influência do momento inicial determinado pela pandemia da Covid-19, que nos afetou a todos e em todos os lugares do planeta Terra. Diferentes culturas e nações se viram impactadas fortemente pela doença que não seleciona etnia, poder aquisitivo, credo ou espaço culturalmente construído. Planejar um evento acadêmico nessa área, na nossa área, demanda atenção ao entorno, ao que acontece com os outros e com nós mesmos. Refletir a respeito do direito impõe geolocalizar os conflitos. Um ponto de mirada, sim, pode ser também espacial. Dizendo de outra forma, é no espaço urbano que a desigualdade se produz e os conflitos e os problemas gerados pela pandemia se revelam e se potencializam. Afinal, como afirma Ziegler, no Brasil, os casos começaram nas classes mais abastadas, até que a doença foi se alastrando para os bairros de menor renda, que também são os mais prejudicados em relação ao acesso a serviços de água e saneamento, e de condições básicas de habitabilidade. Juntam-se a essa questão problemas pré-existentes, como doenças respiratórias, dengue e tantas outras vinculadas à falta de saneamento que tornam essas populações ainda mais vulneráveis à propagação da Covid-19. A moradia e as condições de habitação do espaço urbano declaram em nosso país ainda mais as vulnerabilidades sociais. A situação de ter uma casa e sua condição de habitação, determinada em boa medida pelo potencial econômico de cada pessoa, tem orientado, inclusive, os fatores de prevenção e de tratamento da doença. Afora isso, é também nas periferias que estão as pessoas que compõem a grande massa dos trabalhadores que não puderam realizar o distanciamento social e que, em boa medida, seguiram trabalhando e usando os veículos de transporte coletivo, conhecidos do país pela superlotação. Como exigir dessas pessoas que se deslocam para o trabalho, aquelas que se mantiveram empregadas, obviamente, de segunda a sexta-feira, que permaneçam em suas casas nos finais de semana? Afinal, o Brasil tem revelado praças, praias e parques lotados durante toda a pandemia. Pois bem, essas são questões iniciais e atuais. A necessidade de pensar e debater ainda mais tais problemas, todavia, não é característica inédita desta pandemia. Há 100 anos, a metrópole de São Paulo, por exemplo, passou por transformações urbanas e administrativas determinadas exatamente por outra pandemia. A gripe espanhola provocou o controle sobre o espaço da cidade, e os bairros, como Higienópolis, surgiram. Também foi há 100 anos que os protocolos sobre as ações funerárias foram criados pelo poder público municipal, os quais determinavam, até agora, que todo o serviço funerário fosse realizado apenas pelo município. Isso fez com que a cidade de São Paulo se tornasse a maior funerária do mundo. Neste ano de 2020, pelo aumento de demanda causado pela atual pandemia, a regra centenária foi, finalmente, revista, e os serviços, pela primeira vez na história do município, puderam ser realizados pela iniciativa privada. Pensando apenas neste exemplo, podemos imaginar a complexidade do fenômeno. O Brasil possui 5.570 municípios, que, apenas neste ano de 2020, e por conta do fenômeno da pandemia, precisaram ter todas as normas revistas. Todas essas leis foram alteradas. E as alterações nas leis e na jurisprudência ocorreram nos 4 planos de incidência do legislativo: distrital, municipal, estadual e federal, assim como no executivo e no judiciário. Modificaram-se as relações trabalhistas, comerciais, previdenciárias e tributárias. Foi especialmente nesses ramos do direito que as primeiras normas se viram transformadas e amplamente difundidas neste ano. Afora isso, as novas tecnologias, especialmente as de comunicação pelo uso da internet, foram as ferramentas adotadas para garantir uma das medidas sanitárias, o isolamento social, e a continuidade de boa parte das relações sociais, do ensino, do trabalho, do acesso à justiça, do acesso à previdência social, do consumo, do lazer, entre outras. Previsível, pois, que haja a íntima relação entre as tecnologias, as cidades inteligentes, a vida social e o direito. E assim, se vê em destaque e como indispensáveis pontos de observação acadêmica. Desse modo, queremos ouvir, trocar e produzir conhecimento. Tanto que se dá no interior do nosso continental país, quanto o que os nossos colegas de outras partes do mundo vão compartilhar conosco nestes 5 dias de um evento que, imerso nessa realidade toda, também se faz com tecnologia e distanciamento social. Atrás de cada tela, reunimos 839 participantes inscritos até sábado. O número esse se alterou de ontem para hoje, passando de 970 inscrições. Desses, mais de 120 são cotistas, isto é, que se inscreveram com gratuidade, que farão apresentações em 46 grupos de pesquisa, liderados por mais de 120 professores doutores. Também pelas telas e pelos teclados, convidamos e obtivemos aceites de 38 palestrantes, representantes que são de 10 países, distribuídos nos continentes, em vários dos continentes do mundo. Eu poderia nominar 3, se nós falássemos na língua portuguesa, ou 4, como se costuma definir na língua inglesa. Também neste ano, pela primeira vez, reunimos os líderes de diferentes e internacionais associações de sociólogos do direito. Esperamos, com isso, beneficiarmos deste mundo em rede, a fim de encurtar distâncias, compartilhar conhecimento, compreender as crises e contribuir, quem sabe, para a redução das desigualdades sociais. Importa dizer que a Abrage existe há 11 anos. Não é uma empresa, não tem fins lucrativos e não emprega mão de obra profissional. A Abrage é uma associação destinada à disseminação da pesquisa em nosso país e no mundo. E, para isso, divulga a pesquisa dessa nossa área de uma forma independente e livre, colocando no ar, gratuitamente, 3 edições anuais de sua revista brasileira de Sociologia do Direito, hoje considerada, validada, com o status Qualis B1 da CAPES. Ainda, como resultado de seus congressos, publica eletronicamente os anais com resumos e trabalhos completos, todos disponíveis no nosso site. Aos editores, diagramadores, revisores e autores desses documentos, meu muito obrigada. Por fim, cabe registrar que o evento que agora inicia foi construído por pessoas, não por empresas. E essas pessoas são professores e alunos, ambos voluntários, que enfrentaram medos e incertezas, doando horas dos seus finais de semana e do tempo raramente livre para ainda, em meio a uma pandemia, que nos trouxe a perda de vidas humanas, resistir e possibilitar que hoje estivéssemos unidos, todos engajados no compromisso com a ciência, com o ensino e com a prática da sociologia do direito. Derradeiramente, entendemos que você, participante, é quem faz a abrage e é conosco responsável pelo que estamos construindo. Muito obrigada e ótimo evento. As pessoas que estão nessa mesa, e que vocês veem os nomes agora aqui, são os principais representantes das associações de sociologia do direito espalhadas ao redor do mundo. Nós estamos com horários muito diversos. Hoje, agora aqui são 9h44, em um dos países recém é início da manhã, ainda mais cedo, e em outro, um dos participantes que está aqui, já está finalizando o seu dia. Lá já são 11 horas da noite. Então, eu convido agora esses nossos colegas, representantes das associações de sociologia do direito do mundo, a fazerem as suas comunicações, a se apresentarem as suas instituições, para que vocês, participantes, conheçam o que nós estamos juntos produzindo no campo da sociologia do direito ao redor do mundo. I invite now Professor Kim to do her presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and greetings in the pandemic. The pandemic has brought us all a lot of misery, and I might say that in this regard, Brazil and the United States have shared the dubious distinction of being two of the countries with the highest COVID rates in the world. So I think that, speaking from the United States, I think we all understand that we're in this together. The good part about the pandemic, there is no good part about the pandemic, is that at least we get to meet by Zoom or by this platform. And I'm glad to see that you're all safe and staying home, because I think that's probably the best way to be until we all have a vaccine and can meet again in person. So I'm Lane Scheppele, and I'm the immediate past president of the Law and Society Association. I bring you greetings from Penny Andrews, who is the current president of the association, but she's teaching in New York City right now. One fabulous thing about being part of the Law and Society Association is that it's an association that actually links people from all over the world. Penny Andrews is our first truly international president of the association, since she was born and raised in South Africa, and she's been back and forth in her career between the US and South Africa, most recently being Dean of the Witwatersrand Law School in South Africa. We hope that she's not the last international president of Law and Society. In fact, one thing we see is that increasingly the association, which began in the United States, has become more and more international. So right now, almost 40% of our members are from outside the US. About a little under 8% of our members are from Central and South America. We hope that number will grow, especially now that I see how many people are involved in the socio-legal community in Brazil. And I think what we've seen is that the association, and in fact our common discipline, has been really growing all over the world. At our last meeting where we met in person in Washington, D.C., 40% of the attendees were from outside the United States, and the largest single delegation at that meeting was from Brazil. So I hope that you all keep coming to the Law and Society meetings. We look forward to seeing you in person. Our next meeting is in Chicago in next May 2021. Of course, we don't know if that's going to be in person or not, but if it is, we hope you can come. But what we really look forward to, and you'll hear more about in the next panel, is that our next meeting outside the United States will be in 2022 in Lisbon. And frankly, one of the reasons why we chose Lisbon as a host for the next international meeting was because there were so many Portuguese speakers who came to our meeting in Washington. So you're all having an effect on Law and Society, and we look forward to welcoming all of you at the Law and Society meetings and to making those meetings more Brazilian and more international. A few things about our association. So my own discipline is sociology, although I've held positions in political science and in law schools and in gender studies and in several countries. And I say that because when our association started, it started really as a combination of the sociologists of law and people from law schools who felt that they needed to understand how law worked in the world and not just how law worked on the books. The Law and Society Association has since become immensely interdisciplinary. So we have not only sociologists and law professors, but political scientists and psychologists and anthropologists and historians, and I could multiply this on and on. What's also been happening now in the United States and starting, I think, in other parts of the world is that we're starting to see socio-legal studies, the interdisciplinary field, emerging as a field of graduate studies of its own. So we now have interdisciplinary PhD programs. Increasingly, I think we're seeing people who are trained both in social science and in law. And I think that this is going to be a trend that will affect other countries as well. So while sociology of law is very often at the center of socio-legal studies, I think the history of law and society in the US, and I think now law and society internationally, will be that we can't do this with one discipline alone. Let me also say that when I heard how many people were going to be at this meeting, I was impressed, and I guess I shouldn't be surprised given how many of you came to the Washington, D.C. meeting. But the Law and Society Association in the United States started in 1965. And at first we had meetings every second year. And my first meeting, I guess this will tell you how old I am, was in 1980 when the meeting was in Madison, Wisconsin, and we had about 80 people in attendance. Our meetings now are thousands of people. The field has grown and the world has grown to embrace this field. And so I wish also for you that you have an association that is vibrant and growing and interdisciplinary. Let me also just mention that Law and Society is now at a point when it is rethinking its future. The association is in the middle of a strategic planning process in which we will try to figure out the direction of the association in the years to come. And one of the things that's very prominent on the agenda of the strategic plan is further internationalization of the association. So already the Law and Society Association has meetings outside the US at least once every 5 years. It has a regular meeting and association with the Law and Society Association in Canada, which in addition to the once every 5 years, we have a meeting also jointly with the Canadian Association. And I think I know we're looking forward to more interactions with regional and national law and society associations. This is clearly a field that has risen to the challenge, and the challenge is of the times in which we live. So as Renata mentioned, our association has been very concerned our discipline over the years has been very concerned with inequality, with discrimination, with the promise of law in producing a much more equal society. But as we all live through this pandemic, and as we're all living a great part of our life on screen and in these mediated forms, I hope we'll also rise to the challenge of thinking about these mediated worlds the new strange worlds that we live in, because I think that this will require some new understandings from social science and from law. And I think all of us are posed to take advantage of these horrible conditions. Maybe that doesn't sound right. This is something where we need to understand these horrible conditions in which we live. And I think it's changing the research agendas of all of us. So I might say that just in my own work, I've been studying collapsing democracies, and I've been very interested to see the way in which both Brazil and the United States, and to some extent India, which is now joining Brazil and the United States as having one of the worst pandemic responses. Though I've been interested in the way all of these countries have been led by, shall we say, populist leaders who have been interested not only in not responding adequately to the pandemic, but also in consolidating power and in crashing constitutional democracy. So I think many of us will be able to see that there are links across many of our countries that come from the fact that leaders in each of these countries and the law that they wield is increasingly being created by looking side to side, by looking for examples from other parts of the world. And so this is what's brought me to study Brazil, what I hope will actually bring me to Brazil one of these days when we can all travel again. And I hope that we all find that there is something that unites us with our colleagues internationally. I hope all of you who are so engaged in this field in Brazil will come to the Law and Society meetings when we have them, and will join in some of the working groups that I know my colleague Dave Trubeck will talk to you about in the next session. So with all of that, I just want to welcome you all to this fabulous convention here in Brazil. And the only good thing, like I said, about this technology is that we can all meet online even when we can't meet in person. And I just want to say Law and Society Association will be waiting for you in person when this is all over. And I hope you'll be able to join us at that time. So thanks very much.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Kim. So now I invited Professor Daniela Zaikowski from Sociedade Argentina de Sociologia Jurídica para que faça também a sua apresentação.
Renata,
Desculpem,
recuerda.
Aqui neste ato, né, a professora Daniela é a presidente e nós temos a presença da vice-presidente, que é a professora Laura Laura, que falará em nome da professora Daniela. Por favor.
¿Qué tal? Bueno, buenos días aquí a todos. En realidad, la invitación me fue extendida en mi carácter de vicepresidenta de la Sociedad Argentina de Sociología Jurídica, que es una asociación civil que este año está cumpliendo 15 años, ha celebrado recientemente en el mes de septiembre sus 15 años de creación, y en este sentido la presidenta Daniela Zaikowski dará sus palabras o compartirá las palabras en el marco del 11º Congreso de la Asociación Brasileña de Sociología Jurídica, ya casi cerrando el evento. Bueno, me han pedido que me presentara, así que brevemente les voy a compartir que soy profesora de Sociología Jurídica de la Facultad de Derecho, investigadora del Instituto de Investigaciones Jurídicas y Sociales Ambrosio Lucas Gioja, de la misma Facultad de Derecho de la Universidad de Buenos Aires. Esta invitación me ha sido extendida en mi carácter, como les decía, de vicepresidenta de la SASJU, y quiero agradecer especialmente a Renata por la invitación y también a su vicepresidenta Marilia Montenegro Pessoa y a quienes integran esta importante asociación de investigadores en el campo de la sociología jurídica que lleva 11 años de creación. El año pasado tuve la posibilidad, la alegría de compartir, incluso junto con Ulrike, la celebración del 10º Congreso de la ABRASAT que se hizo en Recife, y también quedábamos impresionadas por la cantidad de gente que había asistido a esa reunión convocada por la Asociación Brasileña, que era de aproximadamente unas 2.000 personas. Un evento muy importante en el sentido de que esta convocatoria que hace la Abrazad nos permite la oportunidad de crear vínculos y de fortalecerlos en el tiempo, dar continuidad, como decía Kim también, participo de los grupos de trabajo de la Abrazad y son grupos que hemos logrado darle continuidad. En especial hay una interacción desde hace mucho tiempo entre la Asociación Brasileña de Sociología del Derecho y la Asociación Argentina de Sociología del Derecho. Justamente una de las temas que me parece interesante comentarles es que nosotros celebramos el año pasado 20 congresos de sociología jurídica que se denominan como congresos nacionales de sociología jurídica, pero también latinoamericanos de sociología jurídica. Nacionales porque inicialmente la propuesta era reunir a los profesores, a los docentes investigadores que nos desempeñábamos en las distintas universidades públicas de la Argentina en el campo de la sociología o de la sociología jurídica. Actualmente, hace unos años, con las reformas de los programas de estudios de las distintas facultades, comienzan a denominarse las cátedras como cátedras de sociología jurídica, pero tradicionalmente han sido designadas como cátedras de sociología, me refiero a las facultades de Derecho, y la sociología del derecho es dictada por profesionales egresados de las facultades de Derecho con distintas especializaciones en el campo de la sociología jurídica, formaciones que hemos ido adquiriendo a través de especializaciones a nivel nacional, doctorados o por la participación de muchos de nosotros en maestrías, como son las que se dictan en ONIATI, o en otras partes del mundo, en Europa, en distintas universidades europeas fundamentalmente. Estoy muy contenta de participar también en la Abrazad porque las contribuciones que se hacen a los estudios en el campo de la sociología jurídica sin duda son de relevancia para Brasil, pero también para todo Latinoamérica y como se evidencia en esta mesa son de mucho interés para los socios de las distintas asociaciones que están representadas hoy aquí. Loan Society es una asociación muy querida por los latinoamericanos. Hemos celebrado el hecho de que en 2018 nos reuniéramos en México y también, por supuesto, es muy querida el Comité Internacional de Sociología Jurídica que surge en la década de los 60 y sobre los cuales seguramente nos va a hablar la presidenta actual, Ulrike. También celebrar la importancia de este intercambio en el que asistirán profesores de la Asociación Derecho y Sociedad, de la joven Asociación de Derecho y Sociedad japonesa o de la joven Asociación Derecho y Sociedad australiana el año pasado con motivo de los 30 años de creación del Instituto Internacional de Sociología Jurídica. Nos anoticiábamos de la creación de esta asociación, así que realmente estar aquí compartiendo este congreso es una celebración, es una alegría, porque como digo, inicialmente son los espacios y las oportunidades para crear vínculos, para crear redes, para generar convenios, para generar grupos de trabajos, así que trasciende del vínculo inicial de la Sociedad Argentina de Sociología, la Abrazad, el Comité Internacional de Sociología Jurídica y la Loan Society. Bueno, siendo que tengo que comentarles de las actividades que desarrollamos en el campo o los socios y de la Sociedad Argentina de Sociología Jurídica, comentarles que al igual que otras asociaciones, el congreso que estaba previsto realizarse este año fue postergado, estaba previsto realizarse en la Universidad Nacional de Rosario, una de las universidades que, digamos, sedes de los congresos de sociología jurídica y se postergó para el año próximo. Sin embargo, hemos adoptado una actitud, todos los socios, actualmente tenemos aproximadamente entre 120 y 130 socios de la Sociedad Argentina de Sociología Jurídica y muy activos, unos 60 docentes investigadores de las distintas universidades públicas, entre ellas la Universidad Nacional de Córdoba, la Universidad Nacional de La Pampa, Universidad Nacional de Rosario, Santa Fe, Universidad Nacional de Tucumán, bueno, la Universidad de Buenos Aires y tantas otras. Lo que hemos decidido es, en las distintas sedes, en las distintas universidades públicas, no dejar de realizar actividades y en el transcurso de este año, comenzando por la Universidad de Buenos Aires, la Facultad de Derecho, hemos organizado un congreso federal, internacional, interdisciplinario sobre derechos humanos para la niñez y la adolescencia, en la que han participado, bueno, Kim mencionaba la importancia de la participación interdisciplinaria que ha caracterizado a Law and Society, a diferencia de las asociaciones de sociología jurídica que tienen más bien puesto el foco en la participación de abogados y de sociólogos o de sociólogos jurídicos, dada la autonomía que poco a poco ha ido adquiriendo la sociología jurídica. Si bien asisten a nuestros congresos estos especialistas o estas profesiones, poco a poco se han ido sumando antropólogos, licenciados en ciencias económicas, licenciados en ciencias de la comunicación, politólogos, es decir, compartimos la idea de un proyecto interdisciplinario para analizar los estudios de derecho y sociedad. En este sentido, les decía, retomando una actividad muy importante que hemos realizado en el mes de mayo desde la Universidad de Buenos Aires, este Congreso de Derechos Humanos para la Niñez y la Adolescencia, que ha tenido más de 1000 participantes, no solo de todas las provincias que componen la Argentina, que son 24, de universidades públicas y de universidades privadas, sino también participantes de distintas universidades de Europa, de Latinoamérica, muchísimos países que representan Latinoamérica, Colombia, Chile, Brasil, Perú, Ecuador, que son también participantes o profesores investigadores que se reúnen en los congresos latinoamericanos de sociología jurídica. Les decía que eran congresos nacionales los que celebrábamos, pero también latinoamericanos, en homenaje a la participación que tradicionalmente han tenido los profesores que se dedican a la sociología jurídica y a la sociología en Latinoamérica, fundamentalmente en distintas universidades de Brasil, Colombia, Venezuela, Perú, Chile y Ecuador. Seguimos teniendo representantes de distintas universidades en los congresos que realizamos. También desde las distintas sedes se han ido realizando jornadas que abordan y conversatorios en torno a las cuestiones de género y el aislamiento social preventivo y obligatorio. Se han realizado homenajes a con motivo de los 100 años de fallecimiento de Max Weber. Max Weber es una figura que ha sido muy influyente en los teóricos actuales de la sociología del derecho. Incluso trabajamos muy vinculados con Vincenzo Ferrari, que es un referente de la sociología del derecho a nivel internacional, y todos conocemos de su clásica definición de que la sociología jurídica ve al derecho como un mecanismo de la acción social que define y transforma los comportamientos sociales. Esta fuerte influencia weberiana en la concepción teórica de muchos teóricos del mundo, que se contraponen muchas veces con las concepciones lumanianas. Si bien tienen puntos en común, hay muchas cuestiones ahí que estamos trabajando respecto de la complejidad de los sistemas, las contingencias, las expectativas, qué podemos hacer, cómo podemos analizar desde la sociología del derecho los conflictos que atraviesan las sociedades mundiales, vamos a decir de algún modo. Así que, bueno, es mucha la tarea que estamos desarrollando desde los distintos socios que integramos la SASJU, y en este sentido los invito a que visiten la página de la Sociedad Argentina de Sociología Jurídica, donde podrán ver incluso las presentaciones de libros de los distintos equipos de investigación, socios de la SASJU, que se han presentado recientemente. Y sin más, bueno, les quiero decir algo más también, que como integrante de la SASJU y integrante del Comité Internacional de Sociología Jurídica, he dado un impulso muy fuerte a un seminario de Sociología Jurídica, donde estamos discutiendo con distintos representantes a nivel mundial de la sociología jurídica la noción de derecho y sociedad digital. Han hecho ya aportes en este sentido representantes de universidades brasileñas como Celso Campilongo y Fernando Richter, que estarán exponiendo en este congreso sobre sociedades digitales, sobre movimientos sociales en la era digital. También ha estado Vincenzo Ferrari compartiéndonos sus hipótesis sobre la sociología del derecho para el futuro. Raffaele De Giorgi hablándonos de temas muy relevantes en las actuales sociedades, como son odio e intimidación en línea en las sociedades, y seguimos debatiendo las posibilidades que tenemos para llevar adelante con los presupuestos que tenemos en las universidades públicas, los estudios sociojurídicos empíricos, que, digamos, disponemos de una pluralidad de técnicas de investigación, pero muchas veces se nos dificulta, o los obstáculos que aparecen es la ausencia de recursos de financiación, porque como todos sabemos, la investigación empírica es muy costosa. Así que, pero no obstante, tenemos estas posibilidades de congreso y un agradecimiento sin más. Gracias, Renata, una vez más.
Muchas gracias. Obrigada, professora Laura. Thank you so much, Professor Laura. Now, I invited Professora Ulrike Schultz to do your presentation, please. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Renata, and thank you so much for inviting me to present the work of the Research Committee for the Sociology of Law. And if I speak about the Research Committee for the Sociology of Law, I also have to introduce you to the Ognati Institute, the International Institute for the Sociology of Law. I have prepared, wait a minute, a PowerPoint. I hope it will work immediately. Where do we? Gesamte Bildschirm. Yeah, here we go. Okay. Good. Okay, now you see my PowerPoint presentation. To introduce myself, I'm a lawyer by training, and when I started to study law in the 1960s, sociology of law was on the rise in Germany, and it became my passion. I'm specialized on questions of gender and law, legal education, legal profession, and European law. For the past 2 years, I've already been the president of the Research Committee for the Sociology of Law, and we have a four-year office, so I will stay in my office till the meeting in Lisbon in 2022. And I hope to see many of you there, and I hope to be able to give you a good idea of what our work in the Research Committee on Sociology of Law and in the International Institute for the Sociology of Law is like. I had the great pleasure to be invited to your meeting in Recife last year, so I'm familiar with Abraz, and I guess some of you may have already seen me at that meeting. Now, how do I move on? Next overhead. It doesn't want... It doesn't. Here we go. Okay. The Research Committee on Sociology of Law is one of the many research committees the International Sociological Association has. We are Research Committee number 12. And we were founded in 1962 as the international group working on sociology of law. LSA, you've just heard by Lane Scheppele about LSA, was only founded 2 years later. We are much smaller in membership numbers, but we have an enormous international outreach in the projects we do. I will explain it to you a little more in detail. The founding of the Research Committee on Sociology of Law was an initiative of William Evan from the United States and Adam Podgoretsky in Poland, both very well-known persons in sociology of law. And the first meeting, in fact, took place in Washington, in the United States. But we meet in any places of the world, all around the globe. We have had annual meetings since 1964. For 2020, we had planned a meeting in Lund in Sweden, had to postpone it to next year due to Corona. And for 2023, we have planned a meeting in Bangor in Wales in the United Kingdom. Every 4 years, our meetings go together with the World Congress of the International Sociological Association, and in between we have the ISA World Forums, and there we meet too. This year, the World Forum was supposed to be in Porto Alegre, and it has just been decided to have it in virtual form in February. And by the way, I've also been in Porto Alegre because a couple of years ago, the research committee meeting was in Porto Alegre, so I'm quite familiar with Brazil. And every 5 years, we are co-sponsor of the big international socio-legal meeting. You know, the next one will be in Lisbon. The one before was in Mexico City. No, one back. Okay, we have 12 working groups, and these working groups are very autonomous and have their own meetings if they wish to have so. You see here the description of the working groups: civil justice and dispute resolution, comparative legal cultures, comparative studies of legal professions. This is the one in which I'm very active: gender and law, human rights, law and politics, law and popular culture, law and migration, social and legal systems, which is run by Germano Schwarz, Renata's husband, and Lucas Sconson, and sociology of constitution, urban problems. And we've just founded a new working group on legal pluralism, of which I'm one of the co-organizers. We have a very nice web page, which gives you a lot of information about our history and the activities we have. You see the website information here. And it also gives our statutes, etc., etc., all you have to know about the Research Committee on Sociology of Law. We edit a newsletter, 2 issues per year. And we also have a discussion group on Facebook. We are in discussions on planning a new journal for the Research Committee on Sociology of Law, and we are closely affiliated to a journal which is right now based in Australia, which is called Law in Context. We award a prize each year. In 1 year, it's always the prize for lifetime achievement. That means for an older, experienced scholar. And in alternate years, it's a prize for early career scholars. This year was the year for an early career scholar, and we had fantastic proposals for young scholars who all had deserved the prize, but of course we had to choose one of them. And we've had for years now discussions on founding a World Consortium for Law and Society, and hope that this initiative will gain in momentum with the FICA initiative, which is planned for Lisbon. You will hear more about it from Dave Trubeck. And of course, RCSL is a huge network for social legal work. If you want to become a member, please contact me. Our membership fee is very low, €25 per year, and you get nice advantages like reduced conference fees, the newsletter, etc. And as I told you, we are closely affiliated to the International Institute for the Sociology of Law in Oñati in Spain. We are like two halves of an egg. This institute was founded at the end of 1988 between the Basque Country and the Research Committee. The scientific director is always nominated from the Research Committee, and we have a joint board. There are 9 staff members. I guess quite a few of you have already been there, maybe last year at the conference for our 30th anniversary. Here, a view of the university building, which is from the 15th century. And there's a place where people visiting the university and our students can live. We run an international master in sociology of law. This year we have the 31st go of this program. So far we've had 480 students from 65 countries, 170 professors from 35 countries have been teaching in that program. It's a truly, truly international program, and it consists of 12 two-week courses and a thesis seminar, and we also have possibilities to give grants to students. Just to sum up the major activities we have there, it's all joint projects between the IISL, the International Institute in Oñati, and the Research Committee. Besides the international master, we have in summer workshops, 12 to 16 workshops per year. Therefore, 2 days work, and the day you arrive, the day you go, and they have between 12 and 30 participants. So you can well imagine how many people have been to Oñati over all these years. And in addition, we have these working group meetings. I've also arranged working group meetings too in Germany when I was head of the working group on legal professions. Then we do in Oñati international congresses and summer courses. You can go there as a visiting scholar. So we have a wonderful social legal library, an international library. It has books in 30 languages. Here a view of the library. We have a network called Oñati Community to support the institute, and we are very strong in social legal networking. And all our work, of course, runs into publications. Many of our publications are based on the outcome of workshops, but also on students' work. So we have an Oñati Social Legal series. That's an online journal, which has an enormous amount, which has had an enormous amount of editions so far. And we also have a students' journal called Sortus. But we still also do normal physical books. And there's one series with Hart Bloomsbury in Oxford. This is our English language series, and one with Dickinson for Spanish language editions. We have a very strong representation of social legal scholars from Latin America. So this is why we have this duality between these two publication lines. I've done 3 volumes with Hart so far, one on women in the world's legal professions, one on gender and judging, one on gender and careers in the legal academy. And well, there are many more. I think so far we've had like 80 volumes in the Hart series and a little less in the Dickinson series. So if you want to get more information, please send me an email. I'm happy to answer any request, and it would be wonderful if you could decide to become a member of the Research Committee for the Sociology of Law to enhance our international social legal work. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Ulrike, for your muito obrigada, Ulrike, pela sua apresentação tão clara, né, para todos nós. Now I invited Professor Trish to do your presentation.
Thank you, Renata, and hola to everyone. Yes, my name is Trish Luker. I'm the current president of the Law and Society Association of Australia and New Zealand, LASANZ. I'm speaking to you from Sydney, Australia, on the lands of the Indigenous people, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nations, whose sovereignty has never been ceded, and I pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging. I'm a senior lecturer in the Faculty of Law at the University of Technology, Sydney, and I've been part of the law and society community in Australia since I began postgraduate work in the early 2000s. My own research is highly interdisciplinary and is primarily concerned with how and on what basis legal decisions are made. I draw on critical approaches to evidence law, feminist legal theory, settler colonial studies, and documentary theory. I've been asked to speak today on this panel just briefly about the association. LASANZ was established and incorporated in 2006 at its annual Law and Society conference, and I'll go on in a moment just to talk a little more about our conferences. However, socio-legal scholars have actually been meeting and collaborating and publishing in Australia and New Zealand since the early 1980s. And this is evidenced in publications, journals, including the Australian Journal of Law and Society, which began publishing in 1982, and Law in Context, which Ulrike just mentioned, which began in 1983. I'll speak to you a little bit later about a new initiative in this space. So the purpose of the Law and Society Association is to provide a more permanent presence and concentration for the study of law and society in Australia and Aotearoa, New Zealand. The object of the association is to promote and foster scholarship broadly focusing on the interactions and intersections between law and society. And LASANZ does this principally by running in conjunction with other organisations, centres and universities its annual Law and Society conference and other similar events. We have a structure that includes office bearers, in addition to myself, that make up an executive, and we also have a management committee, and both bodies have both Australian and Aotearoa New Zealand representatives, as well as postgraduate representation. So the activity of the annual conference, which is in normal circumstances outside of COVID, hosted by different universities in both Australia and New Zealand. They're vibrant events over 2 to 3 days, generally attracting about 120 people, modest in comparison to the LSA, for example. But, you know, it's a very collegial environment in which many people know each other, but I know from my own experience of participating in these events, it's a very welcoming context. Pretty well everyone who attends these conferences gives papers, although, of course, there are always sometimes people who don't. And they always include international attendees, including keynote speakers often who come from other contexts. For many years, the conference has included a dedicated dedicated day for postgraduate students, with sessions covering the types of issues that high degree research students face, and opportunities to meet other graduate students, to meet the keynote speakers who we always invite to speak to these at these events, and other senior scholars to provide help and guidance and mentorship. While the conferences commonly have dedicated themes reflecting strengths in the host institution or current pressing issues or other motivations, the scope of scholarship that is represented at these conferences is very broad. Some of the themes that feature in more recent conferences include a really quite strongly emerging field of legal geography, which of course incorporates issues around climate change, feminist legal theory, critical race studies, critical legal theory, law and colonialism, and settler colonialism and imperialism is always a strong theme in our conferences, queer and transgender legal theory, environmental law, law and social activism, animal law is a strongly emerging theme, and of course always law and education. We have a commitment to holding a conference in New Zealand as opposed to Australia every 3 years, and to ensuring that the conferences are held in both metropolitan and regional locations in both countries. And we also have a commitment to holding a joint conference with both the United Kingdom-based Socio-Legal Studies Association and the Canadian Law and Society Association every 5 years. To date, this has occurred at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, and also at the University of Wollongong in Australia. So it's through attendance at the annual conferences that the association acquires its membership base. Registration at the conference automatically makes one a member. The membership fees are extremely modest, $40 Australian dollars and $20 Australian dollars per annum for students. But we are currently reviewing this arrangement, membership, and sadly we had to cancel the conference this year, which was actually to be held at my institution, UTS. But as a substitute, we will be holding a modest online event in December. We're strongly committed to fostering and supporting early career researchers, many of whom see the conference as an opportunity to first air their research, to meet other early career researchers and senior scholars, and to develop networks. We offer modest travel grants to subsidise the cost of travel and attendance at the conference for these high degree research students. At times, the conference is held alongside, or in the past, even in conjunction with other associations. The Law, Literature and Humanities Association of Australasia is a strong sister association for us, as well as the Law and History Association. These associations, which are similar in size and scope and have some overlapping membership. The Law and Society Association awards publication prizes each year for the most outstanding contribution to the field of law and society by an Australian or New Zealand scholar whose work has a focus on these jurisdictions. And there's actually 3 categories of prizes, one of which is dedicated to early career researchers. And to finish up, I will just say that the exciting news is that we're in the process of launching a new journal called Legalities, which is being published by Edinburgh University Press. This journal is a joint initiative with the law school at Southern Cross University, and it will provide a dedicated publishing venue for socio-legal scholarship broadly conceived. I'm one of the managing editors of the journal, and I think in light of the discussions that we're having at the moment in this forum in relation to building international links, it's important for me just to note that the scope of Legalities as the premier journal for socio-legal studies is Aotearoa, Australasia, and the Global South. So this, I think, signals where the association is seeing itself in these times. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Thanks so much, Trish. So now I invited Professor Kai-Wan Shan, from Asian Law and Society Association. O professor está falando do outro lado do mundo, lá já é a noite. We know that you are in the night, so we would like to say so many thanks for your participation alive with us. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. And I also have prepared a PowerPoint. And so now I'm trying to bring up the PowerPoint. So does it work?
Yes, it's perfect. You can see. No, it was good. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
I'll go back
Thank
to
you.
the
It's
PowerPoint.
perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And first of all, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Professor Renata Almeida de Costa for inviting me to participate at this opening ceremony of this International Congress. And thank you very much. It is my honor to be invited to give this presentation about the Asian Law and Society Association, of which I'm currently the president until the end of next year, 2021. The Asian Law and Society Association, ALSA, aims at fostering socio-legal scholarship on Asia and disseminating its findings to the broader community of socio-legal scholars. Our members come from Asia as well as other parts of the world, including North and South America, Europe, and Oceania. They include academics, researchers, graduate students, as well as practitioners. ALSA is a relatively young association. It was established in 2015 when the 4th East Asian Law and Society Conference was held in Waseda University, Tokyo, Japan. East Asian Law and Society Conferences, from now on I will call them EALS conferences, were organized by the Collaborative Research Network East Asian Law and Society, CLN33, of the Law and Society Association in America, which we commonly call LSA. And CLN33 has been organizing sessions at the annual meetings of the LSA. From 2010 to 2015, CLN33 had also organized regional law and society conferences. The inaugural EALS conference was held at the University of Hong Kong in 2010. Building on this momentum, 3 more EALS conferences had been held. At Yonsei University, Seoul, South Korea in 2021, Shanghai Jiao Tong University in Shanghai, China in 2013.
Professor, sorry, Professor Kai, could you please change your sound to be more higher? It's a little bit low to us. And okay, could you?
Okay. No. Is it better now?
A little bit.
Is it better now?
We can listen to you, but if you could put your sound high, it will be higher. It will be better.
Okay, I stop sharing the screen first, so that I can go back to.
Okay, thanks so much. No, just maybe if you can not do this with your microphone, if you could speak louder, a little bit higher, it's fine. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
No problem at all.
Please accept my apology. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Is it better now? Okay. And so the fourth EALS conference, as I have said earlier, had been held in Waseda University, Tokyo, Japan in 2015. It was at this conference that ALSA was established. Now I explain a little bit about why we established ALSA. Since its establishment in 2007, the membership and activities of CRN 33 have expanded substantially. And we found significant interest in the EALS conferences coming from other Asian countries, not just East Asia. As a result, ALSA was formed. Then the EALS conferences were replaced by ALSA conferences. So after its establishment in 2015, from 2016 to last year, 2019, every year, an ALSA conference was held. So far, of course, there were 4 conferences that had been held. They were held at the National University of Singapore in 2016. Then in 2017, at the National Chiao Tung University in Taiwan. 2018, at Bond University, Gold Coast, Australia. And last year in Osaka University, Osaka, Japan. This year, originally, the ALSA conference was scheduled to be held at Chulalongkorn University, Bangkok, Thailand in December. However, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the conference has at this stage been postponed to next year, 2021. The dates of which are still subject to be confirmed, depending on the situation of the pandemic. In addition to holding its yearly conferences, ALSA also organizes activities or participates in other events to foster socio-legal scholarship on Asia. For example, pre-conference early career scholar or graduate student workshops had been held on the day immediately before each of the 4 ALSA conferences that we had so far. The aim is to encourage junior scholars to research and write on Asian law and society topics, advance their knowledge and understanding of the field, and build an international community among themselves and more senior scholars. Further, since 2017, we have been awarding the ALSA Graduate Student Article Award every year. This award is one of the 3 kinds of awards that ALSA is now awarding yearly to recognize scholarly excellence on Asian law and society. The other 2 awards are the ALSA Distinguished Book Award and the ALSA Distinguished Article Award. Recipients of these awards enjoy free membership in ALSA for 2 years. Actually, our membership fee is very low. It's only about $30 for regular members and about $15 for students. ALSA members enjoy the entitlement to discounted subscription to the journal Asian Journal of Law and Society, which is published by the Cambridge University Press. A number of our past and present executives and trustees are serving on the editorial board of this journal. But I must clarify that this journal is not our journal. But we have a certain close relationship with the journal, as I have explained. In addition to its own activities, ALSA has also recently accepted LSA's invitation to join as a sponsor of the International Law and Society meeting, which will be held in Lisbon, Portugal in 2022, as you have heard earlier. So, while the ALSA is a relatively young organization, it has been active in fostering socio-legal scholarship on Asia and engaging the broader research community. If you are interested in ALSA's activities or joining the association, please feel free to visit our website, which you can find the link here on the screen, or contact me or our executive office. The email address is also now shown on the screen. And I look forward to seeing you at the International Law and Society meeting in Lisbon, Portugal in 2022, as well as ALSA conferences. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Professor Kai. Very good. I usually like to say thank you for all of you for your precious time, for being with us in this opening ceremony, in this table, on this very, very special occasion that we are living. It's a brand new experience for all of us. But I am sure that your presence here is the best thing maybe that happened in this year. Thank you so much. Queridos amigos, vocês acabaram de presenciar aqui nessa dita mesa, né, nessa cerimônia de abertura, as falas dos representantes de algumas das instituições ou das associações de sociologia do direito do mundo, né, que aqui eu volto a referir e nominar a Law and Society, a Sociedade Argentina de Sociologia Jurídica, o Research Committee of Sociology of Law, a Associação Australiana, e agora também a Associação de Direito e Sociedade da Ásia. Então, com isso, nós reunimos um tanto do mundo, né, nesses representantes, são os presidentes ou representantes das associações que falaram um pouco sobre o que se pesquisa na área, no campo da sociologia do direito, nos seus países, e, ao final, todos eles convidaram vocês a participarem das associações e também a participarem dos congressos, dos eventos e a acompanharem as publicações dessas associações. Nós colocaremos, obviamente, todos os links e endereços dessas associações no nosso website, no site da Abrasde, para que vocês possam acompanhar essas programações. Isso vamos ir alimentando agora ao longo do Congresso e, paralelamente, as atividades do Congresso. Então, eu agradeço imensamente a presença nessa primeira mesa e convido a todos para seguirem pelo YouTube, acompanhando a nossa programação e o nosso próximo painel. So I'd like to say thank you for all of you, and I would like to invite you to see the next panel in another address on YouTube, and the other ones of here, especially Professor David Trubeck, who is here in this opening ceremony, and will start to talk in the other panel, the panel named Global Socio-Legal Collaboration in Lisbon 2022. Então, eu convido todos a participarem agora da outra mesa, que será transmitida também pelo YouTube, especialmente, que será aberta especialmente pelo professor David Trubeck, que vai coordenar este painel, que é um painel de preparação para um grande congresso de Sociologia do Direito do Mundo, Sociologia do Direito, que acontece sazonalmente e sempre em um lugar diferente do mundo, e que no ano de 2022 acontecerá em Lisboa. Então, quem quiser assistir e participar desse debate, dessa preparação para o Congresso de 2022, siga nos acompanhando no canal do YouTube. Vocês, participantes, receberam por e-mail, agora recentemente, um link para essa assistência, então a gente pede que vocês, se não acessaram ainda, verifiquem os e-mails e ingressem por aquele canal, tá bom? Muito obrigada. So, thanks so much. I wish a very good week for everyone. Bye-bye. See you in the nether screen.